Max's whole name is Maximilian von Herrick. Maximilian is because he's 1 in a million.
I was born July 24th, 2004. Yeah, 2004.
It's pretty exciting. A little older and kind of got a grip of how to deliver kids having the 4th one. The pregnancy was fairly simple except towards the end where you get that mommy instinct that something's going on. Having 3 healthy pregnancies, you're just like, okay, you're good. And that was probably the start of a new life.
The nurses came in and said, hey, he's a little fussy, you think there's some things going on. And then it became the, I don't want to say the stereotypical, but it felt like it was happening to somebody else.
It was my first C-section, so you don't, I've never had that happen originally. I was like, all right, you know what? He's crying and he's crying. I'm going, you could take him to the nursery because I want to go ahead and heal. And I'm kind of glad I did that because literally a half hour after he still wouldn't stop crying, they had called Children's Memorial already and said, he's got a heart murmur, something's going on. They sent in a specialist from Lake Forest. They're like, well, they did test and it came back that he had a half a heart.
Everything was happening so fast between needing to get him transferred to a higher level care hospital, finding out that he had a heart defect that was so severe it required immediate surgery, deciding then where to do the surgery, whether we did it here or take him to another facility. My mother, her training is an RN, so she was there for the birth of our kids, and she was able to help kind of shepherd me through the way. But a lot of it just seemed like I went from the joy of having another child and all of the happiness to being forced into a battle situation where I felt like if I made the wrong choice, I would have had the ultimate sacrifice and not have, not have my son.
I think that was when reality set in, was when they whisked him away, and I was just like, wait a minute, I didn't get to really hold him. I don't even know what he looks like. And got up from my bed and tore my staples out. And I'm like, at least I'm gonna wanna see him. So I went to the nursery, held his hand, and while he was in the little incubator thingy, and that was it. And 48 hours was what I had to stay at the hospital before I got to see him.
I can look back and the 30-minute ride from Highland Park where he was born down to Children's, I made my peace with God and I said, well, this is the situation, this is what it is. You'll get me through it, or I'll learn what I needed to learn from not getting through it. He's here for a reason, I'm here for a reason, and we'll find it out as we go.
It felt like an eternity. Meanwhile, Jared's prepping me for what I was about to see. And they mentioned that, he's going to be on a breathing machine. He's going to have a bunch of IVs that are going to help him. And it was just kind of like, this isn't happening to me. They've got to have the wrong kid. My kid's in there somewhere. And I kept thinking, I'm like, no, they're making it up. Seeing him was just so different that you could hear them talking and just rounding on him and telling me that they're going to have to do open heart surgery here in a matter of hours because he was crashing. So they took him in and they started on surgery, and his heart was as big as your thumb. And that was it. They're just in surgery for hours, and they told us to wait. So hours later, nurse comes out and updates us, they're still in surgery. Okay, that's good. Don't give up on my kid. And when she came out, and she's just like, okay, they're able to go ahead and close him up. I said, and goes, he's been off of it now for 5 minutes. I said, okay. It was like, we moved it over 2 millimeters, and they're able to go ahead and get him off of it. We're gonna wait another half hour to make sure he's gonna be okay.
At Children's, that's when they determined exactly what the heart defect was. It's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, HLHS. It's one of the pumping chambers in your heart didn't form.
You know those little tanks and then you put it in your nose, well, I had to have one of those for, I think, 1 or 2 years.
He was in the hospital for 7 months, kind of recovering and getting through a lot of the complications, because a lot of the children don't make it through the first surgery. It's incredibly difficult. But the ones that do, then there's a series of 3 surgeries to kind of complete the procedure. He had the second version when he was 11 months old. And at that time they noticed that his heart, the muscle was thickening. Something that's happened with a lot of athletes that work out too much. It's called cardiomyopia. And it's where your heart doesn't effectively squeeze because it's had to work too hard for too long. The first surgery leaves you the equivalent of running a marathon 24/7. That's where the second surgery steps it down to where it's kind of a brisk walk or a slow jog. And then the last one would have brought it down to where you're just kind of walking around the room. And the idea being is that, if you progress through each stage, then, there are kids in their 20s that have made it and, things have been good. Well, after Max's second surgery, they noticed that his cardiomyopia was getting pretty bad. A few months after his second birthday, they said he's not going to be a candidate for the third surgery. We know that he won't survive. We know that his heart is just, the squeeze isn't there. He's not going to make it. So the only option at that point in time would have been a heart transplant.
When I found out he was getting a heart transplant, because I was more scared than I was sad. Because it was 50-50 at that point where you don't know if it's going to go well or you don't know if it's going to go south.
My favorite doctor, Dr. Wax, he said he didn't know what was going on.
I cared for him. I did his heart catheterizations. He had a long period where he lived with bad congenital heart disease before his heart transplant, where we were doing things through catheterization, like opening up a blocked blood vessel, or we were treating his heart disease. And I got involved when he had the first after he had had the first operation and or the first 2 operations and not doing well with them. He was always struggling. The disease he was born with was going to require at best a series of operations. He had a heart problem that was never going to be cured, that he was never going to be normal with, that was going to need a heart transplant one day.
When you get ready for a transplant, they always tell you, they go through everything and they say, well, you're treating one chronic disease for another, but the idea is this is going to be better than where you were.
I was younger. I didn't really fully know what we were going to have to go through as a family, let alone what this little innocent child would have to go through. I was scared. I was terrified. Because I didn't know what my next step would have been. I didn't know what he would have had to gone through in his life at all. So it was very, very grounding.
He got the transplant on the 13th of December. That day, of course, I can't forget. He has 2 birthdays every year. He has his birthday and he has his heart birthday. And we make it a point of celebrating both. But he was 2.5 when he got his heart transplant.
I had half of one, then a person donated one to me.
It's always a tough decision with these, because a heart transplant, as you know from dealing with the family, as the family knows, is not a cure. We sometimes say it's a different kind of disease, but overall he's had a better life with a new heart or hearts than before.
and they give you the, oh, by the way, a certain percentage of kids develop this specific type of cancer. It's post-transplant lymphomic disease or disorder. It's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is what it boils down to. But again, you know, that's just a small percentage. You don't have anything to worry about.
So Max came to see me several years ago because he had developed a problem called post-transplant lymphoproliferative disease, or PTLD. And he was having a large number of problems with it. He had had a transplant, and he was having problems with, preventing this significant complication. The thing that I most remember about Max was that was the commitment of his mom and dad to his care. They were there for him, you know, through anything, and would actually do anything, go anywhere for his care. And that came through, that shone through very, very quickly. So my job was to identify approaches to take care of that. Unfortunately, we were able to find the right approach to allow him to continue to be a transplant survivor, but also to prevent a significant complication, a cancer that would have taken his life.
I was mostly involved with his post-transplant care, doing his surveillance catheterizations to evaluate the health of his transplanted heart. And I think really I was a touchstone for them in the hospital.
It's amazing the way, you know, you've seen him go from, you know, all of the time in the hospital, and then getting out of the hospital and being on oxygen and not being able to eat and having a tube into his stomach, and then slowly getting to where he could walk and having leg braces, and then moving, you know, progressing further in all the steps and the surgeries, and then seeing him go from, you know, struggling every day to a little bit better, and then finding out the devastating news that without a heart transplant, you know, there is no future for you. And then having the transplant go, and everything was great. It was like, okay, I mean, yeah, we know we're trading one chronic disease for another, but it was like night and day. He went from no energy and blue and, you know, always happy, but never really able to do a lot of things that kids do, to, hey, I don't need my oxygen. I can run around. I can do whatever I want. This is great. And then cancer comes along.
So December 8th, we went in. Our doctor's oncologist said, go in, let's take a scan. The scan showed that the cancer had spread through his entire body. We waited a day or two, and they told us we can try to treat this. But this is a type of strain of cancer that we've never seen before, because it attacked his body. Within 2 weeks, it had gone from like nothing to just all over his entire body. He's been a fighter since he was born. As they were telling us that they're doing all this, I kept thinking in the back of my head, am I being fair to him? Am I being fair to having him go through all these tests? Having him so much pain that when do you say enough is enough?
I think his mom and dad were surprised he got cancer. I think Max, when I met him first, I don't think he was really at an age where he could appreciate that he had cancer. Children of that age, and I take care of a lot of children of that age, do appreciate that they're extremely ill. And especially if you're a child who's been ill virtually all their life, each challenge becomes another obstacle that these kids have to get across. And so I think they see these problems as more like obstacles at the time, significant obstacles that sort of impact on their ability to play and interact with their families and their friends.
How did you feel when you were undergoing your cancer treatments?
I didn't really like it. No, I really didn't. I was terrified, but I eventually got used to it.
He knows that he has cancer. He knows it makes him sick. He knows he was born with half a heart. He has friends that are affiliated with either having half a heart and having cancer, but he thinks that kids like him they've been through the same thing I've been through. And he doesn't realize that he's unique in that certain way.
And, to see him kind of go, yeah, Okay, not a problem. What do we need to do today? Yeah, is that the one that makes me sick? Yeah, all right, what are we gonna do after it? You know, and just to watch that, it makes you go, wow, you know, I thought I was the rock in the family. Well, I can't hold a candle to him.
Well, I think that the spirit that he has is really critical in the cure of his diseases. In other words, doctors can do lots and lots of things, but unless the patient has the drive and determination and the child has the drive and determination to get better, we can do lots and lots of things, but if they don't have that, we won't be able to do that. Now, Max has that in abundance. Max always wants to get better, is always driving to get better, and I think that comes not just from his inner self, but also from the love and sustenance of his family.
I believe in always showing him a positive attitude. In any kind of news you get, you just have to be like, you know what, okay, we've been able to get through things. And he's just like, okay, so he kind of just blows it off, if anything. So doesn't make a big deal about negative news.
When he first started going through everything, we all had to go through certain like classes or certain certifications, and you know what to do when this happens or what to do when that happens. And I think at the time I was more focused on not screwing up than really trying to help him. But he was just very, you know, it's the next step. Okay, this is what I have to do next. He was very normal about it. Never complained, never once. From the minute he was able to talk, he never once ever complained about his life.
We wouldn't know what to do with Ronald McDonald House if it wasn't when we were first approached by a social worker at the hospital and told us, you know, you have this option of going to the Ronald. First thought was like, we don't even know what it is. We're like, well, what are we going to do with burgers right now? Is it like a slide land or whatever that is that they have, McDonald land? It's like, it's something that's so inappropriate. I'm thinking, it's just like, not at this time. And they're like, no, it's a place where family can stay close to the hospital where their child is being treated. I'm looking at my husband, and he's looking at me, and he's like, that's good. And I was like, all right, because there's only one parent allowed in the room. And I was like, okay, well, you go there, and I'll be by his bedside. And it was great to, you know, from time to get there, get showered and change and try to get some sleep. So my husband and I would always swap out. So it worked really well for us. No matter how bad it looks, no matter what kind of news you get, never give up. Miracles happen. He's my miracle. When we're told, don't know how it's going to come out. How many times I've heard that it's going to be rough. He's my miracle.
Well, what message would you like to give to all the little kids out there that might be going through something that you've gone through?
Hope to get better, hope to get normal.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be if you could change one thing?
Make me not have cancer.
He's a very, not old soul, but a very well-educated and well-rounded soul. He's had enough hardships in his life that he has a different perspective on things than what we do. And if things don't go his way, it's like, it's okay.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's seriously just every day. I look forward to seeing him, hearing him run around the house, talking. His little voice that gets me going.
I love my whole family.
What he's always said was he wants the family to be together.
Max is very he's unexpectable. He's good unexpectable. He's stronger than most kids that I've seen.
We've done so much as a family. My parents have done so much as parents to try to really make sure that he's lived a typical childhood. You know, having friends over, the big birthday parties, and every day is a blessing and every day is a celebration.
We try to show him that this is what it is. Everybody goes for labs. Everybody has to go through something. At this point, he thinks he's pretty average. It's like everybody has to go through this, oh well.
He gives you such like a calming presence. I mean, I know people talk about when they're around certain celebrities or certain figures like the Dalai Lama or, you know, the president or whatever, you're just kind of in awe of them and the presence that they have. He commands that when he goes into our room. You know, it's just like everybody goes, who's the little kid in the hat? Or why is he wearing a mask? Or what's his story? What, you know, and we see people on the street come up, and little kids are my favorite. They come up, hi. We always talk to them, hey, how's it going? What's happening? How are you? And you see adults that don't know how to take it. Adults that are afraid, well, what's wrong with this child? And yet, they spend 5 minutes talking to him, and they're like, why didn't I know you sooner? And he's that type of person. He's very, very special and very unique in so many ways.
I like my brother because he's creative.
I think he's proud of me for looking up to him, looking for answers from him. So that's what I morally think.
Francesca, the one who lives here, she's okay. She has nice dogs.
We play games. The boys love to swim, so we always try to go to water parks and whatnot. Swim in the ocean, you know.
Do you have like the perfect life?
Yeah, a life that I would want it to be. I have everything I need. A house, a family, a home.
What's his purpose in life? I think to teach people that don't give up. When you think things are so helpless and there's just no way that it could ever get better, it does.
I think he will be very proud of himself, and it kind of makes me a little sad, but it's kind of sad to, you know, leave him, you know, being older. I just want to make sure that he's always, you know, happy, and that he has what he needs.
You hope the most for Max?
Oh my gosh, that he would be completely in remission and strong-hearted and grow to be successful, which I know he will be, just because of his personality. That's what I really hope most for, is that he really gets 100% well.
Max, I'm proud of you, proud of the strength that you showed, that you gave to your parents, I know, through all of this. I enjoy knowing you. You've been a bright spot in my life and a landmark personality in my career. It's been a pleasure knowing him and his family.
When I meet Max at his college graduation, I will not have any words, because I will just be awestruck that he has been able to make it through all of this, because he has taken on many, many challenges and has actually been able to overcome them. And that's because of his spirit and drive, and also because of the commitment of his family to making sure that he got better.
You know, what exactly it is, or who he needs to touch, or how many lives he needs to influence, I don't know. I wish I had the answers, but, you know, a higher power does. And when he's finished, it's just like anything else for the rest of us. When it's our time, it's our time. But, you know, his message is, his very reason for being here hasn't been fulfilled yet. And, you know, like I said, I don't claim to know or understand it, but I'll support him every way I can. I'll help him get to wherever he needs to go, or do whatever he needs to do. And if that's nothing more than, you know, living out his life, his happy and as quietly as he can, then I'm fine with it.
In 10 years, I hope to look at all this as we don't ever have to deal with this sickness anymore.
Whoever wants me to be someone, I could be them.